part of my privilege. I realize that. However, back to basic Sunday. So yeah, we're talking about this diaphragmatic release. Ready? Or I can do it this way. And again, the most important part of any kind of breathing practice, as far as I know, in the context of that dealing with anxiety and stress, is that diaphragmatic release. Because when I go like this, there's a neurological connection between this horizontal muscle called the diaphragm and my limbic system, which is in the back, sort of just above my spinal cord, part of my brain. That's about the whole fight flight thing and anxiety and getting my brain into it. The being in the fight flight place, the limbic system, is where I am in the context of everything being about fear, worry, and concern. And it's actually it's interesting. I learned the other day that there's fight and flight and freeze. I just found out about the freeze place. None of them are good, and they're all based on ultimately this misaccurate reading. Just had to turn off the dehumidifier. This misaccurate reading of what's actually happening around us, because those three functions are designed, although I'm not sure where the freeze one came from. That'd be an interesting thing to look into. But they're designed to keep us safe in the context of lethal life-threatening threats, meaning that somebody, literally the way that I think about it is a gun pointed at my head is not a threat unless the person's finger's on the trigger, gun's loaded, person knows how to use it, the ske's off, all those things. Because up until that point, it's not lethal. I use that because ultimately, like bears in the woods, if that bear is not hungry, you're not in danger. And so if that bear's not protecting its young, you're not in danger. And so simply coming to a bear and going into fight flight, what that does is it puts you in a position where you no longer have access to information that you can use to keep yourself safe. And I do not believe that fight flight place is intended to be operating in any instance other than when we are actually in a lethal situation where our life is actually at risk right now. So yeah, so back to basics. So I'm going to do a couple of breaths. I'm going to be using the rules. Back is straight, right? Counting when I breathe in and breathe out. So I'm going to breathe in. So that was 2 breaths. I already feel better. But the counting thing, in case you're not aware, the counting thing goes like this. When you breathe in, you count. When you breathe out, you count. The number just needs to be the same. And it's not like 5 seconds. It was 5 for me, that number. Whatever rhythm comes to you is the perfectly appropriate rhythm, because it's really about balancing those 2 numbers so that time frame is essentially the same. Because our neurological system wants us, our limbic system wants us to have one of those numbers be shorter. And when we make it the same, it pushes back against this fight flight thing that keeps us in this thing. And so yeah, the rules: in through your nose, out through your mouth. Count when you breathe in, breathe out. Make sure the number's the same. Back is straight. Diaphragm's released. And practice is the most important rule. You have to practice. And I've talked about this numerous times, but practice is about how when I'm learning a song, I'm not going to play that in public until I know how it goes. I could. But ultimately, my goal is to actually perform it in a way where you're not distracted by me screwing it up. I want you to hear the message of the song. And so if I'm just learning it, unless the message of the song is we have to learn things, we don't always know everything right off the bat, then I want to make sure I practice before. There's a thing that I learned when I didn't learn it till way later. When I was a kid in 8th grade, I moved to Guilford, New Hampshire. Prior to that time, I had no idea what soccer was. But in Guilford, New Hampshire, soccer was the coolest thing. Everybody was doing it. Everybody had always done it. And so when I walked out on the soccer field for the first time in 8th grade, I felt like I was a complete idiot because I had no idea how to do the soccer thing. And it never occurred to me that the kids that I was playing with had been doing it for years at that point. And so the reason why I couldn't do it is because I'd never done it before. And the idea of me actually going someplace else and practicing to get better at it on my own, that I could do that. And then I'd be better when I was on the field trying to actually play the game, and that practice would be substantial because these kids had been doing it for a long time before I even knew anything about it. And so that idea of practice is relatively new for me. It comes from, well, at least it goes back to, I don't know how new it is, but the important thing being that this practice thing, when I practice, I do this breathwork practice, the practice piece, twice a day, every day. And so that means that in as much as possible, all I'm doing there is breathing. I'm not doing it because I'm stressed. I'm not doing it because I'm in a difficult situation. So then when I am stressed or in a difficult situation, I can use it in a way that's way more effective. So practice is a really important rule. And I also just wanted to talk a little bit about how this breathing thing, the specifics of this breathing are something we've always known how to do. And it literally, the reason why I need to practice is because it's something that I've forgotten how to do, because the culture doesn't invite us into this position. Our culture, at least the white Northeastern American culture, isn't about breathing practices and centeredness and mindfulness and being in the moment. And so it's something that I had to reclaim that I'd had. If you watch a little baby breathe or animals breathe, you'll see their diaphragm coming out all the time. And it's something that's kind of been taught out of us. So anyway, that's Back to Basics Sunday for Sunday. I'll be back tomorrow on Monday to pass on whatever wisdom I learned from the people I am privileged enough to talk to, and won't know what it's going to be about until that happens. So I will see you all, or you will see me tomorrow. Thanks for tuning in.